Hello and welcome back to Super Hexagon. I am Super Hexagon and I'm here with Super Pentagon.
Something like that. The first time I played this level, I got 30 something, and now I have no idea how.
There's that one obstacle that I just encountered that is the hardest thing for me to compensate for. I've only conquered it maybe 2 or 3 times. But we're not talking about this game because in this series, it would be impossible to talk about this game. So what are we talking about today?
Jobs. Specifically, I guess jobs.
Boy.
That's pretty good. We can talk about our past jobs, our future jobs, our jobs we know and want and hate and whatever. Jobs.
Sounds good. All right. Well, you started last time, so I will start this time.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
No, you can go. You already have an idea in
I
mind.
just remember I was a psych major in college, so every single class I took, you had to take a Myers-Briggs personality test, whatever it was, that evaluated what job you should have, because it was just sort of basic community college level psychology. And I remember the job that they said you should never have for me was bus driver.
Why in the world is that such a specific thing to avoid?
I have no idea. And the funny thing is, today, I think I might not mind being a bus driver.
Well, I think I'm very different personality-wise than I was when I was in high school and
Oh,
college.
yeah, definitely.
Like, I'm a completely different person. I used to be shy, reserved, never talked to anybody, didn't date anyone until I was 18, didn't have friends until I was 17. So I was very, very aloof.
Oh, yeah,
and now I could strike up a conversation with a person I don't know, and I'm not as uncomfortable.
Ah, okay.
So,
I'm not the same way anymore.
I'm definitely different.
I still don't like people. I never have, never will.
Oh, I prefer being alone, but
Okay.
I'm able to cope with people better than I was.
Gotcha.
I'm not as self-conscious as I used to be.
We're not talking about people, we're talking about jobs. I was about to go off on a tangent.
People are jobs.
Okay. So,
I've had customer service jobs. That's people.
yeah,
I worked at Pop Copy.
I think that's pretty much my, answering phones or telemarketing would be my nightmare job.
Oh yeah, I would hate to do that. I'd be good at it, but I'd hate it.
I think my sister-in-law actually used to do that.
I used to work for a guy whose wife worked in customer service, and she was a very emotional person, and he said that just about every other night she would come home crying because of some of the things that people would say to her on the thing.
They should not.
With the, because she was tech support, or not tech support, but I guess she was the complaint department.
Right.
So people called in with problems, and apparently people can be really mean when they don't know who they're talking to.
Sure can.
Same way on the internet.
What? No, the internet's a wonderful place. Everybody's so sweet.
Yes, indeed. Just read the comments on a video that you may or may not like.
Yes.
Yes. So, jobs, huh?
Yeah, jobs.
I've had a lot of jobs.
How would you like to be one of the guys whose job it is to read comments?
I don't know, but they probably...
Big YouTubers have those.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I mean, I knew they didn't read their own comments sometimes, but I didn't know other people read their comments. I don't know. I guess I still kind of don't see YouTube as a job, even though I know people are tending towards pushing it in that direction.
Yep.
But okay. I still look at YouTube as just a place to post videos of me having fun.
Yes. And watch videos of other people having fun.
Yes. Doing things well that I am not good at.
That's the next best thing to having friends.
Watching people you might be friends with. So this took a turn for the completely different.
So
this is about social interaction and social interactive media.
First job I ever had. I was lucky I didn't have to get a job until after college.
First and only job?
No.
Or first job?
First job I ever had was painting houses.
Okay. External or internal?
External. My best friend had this job and they needed help, so he signed me up. He agreed to, he set it up for me, so I went and it was middle of the summer, direct middle of the day. Stood there basically.
In what state?
New York.
Okay.
Lots of direct sunlight. And you know, I just went with the boss while he showed me the basics. Stood there. He had me he spray painted a garage door and then had me scrape the paint off the glass. It was that sort of work.
Okay.
And got home, passed out, and didn't go back. One day of work. It was the worst experience.
I used to work. I've had 2 or 3 jobs where I had to work outside, and I hate being outside.
I don't mind being outside, but that was just torture.
Actually, oddly enough, the best job I ever had was a job that was outside, but it was also a job that required me driving vehicles around, so I wasn't always in the sunlight. But I've had jobs like landscaping and what else did I do outside? Roofing, not roofing, was a construction worker.
Yeah.
I mean, I was an assistant. I didn't know anything about it. I just, hey, you go grab that log, or hey, cut this board, or hey, put this piece of OMC on the roof. And I probably had the most near-death experiences working at that job. I can't count on one hand how many times I almost fell off the roof of a house. I hated that job. That's the only job I ever actually walked out of in the middle of the day. I didn't have a car. I just started walking out of the neighborhood until my brother or mom came and picked me up. I hated that job.
Handle that. There was I used to work at a factory, a styrofoam plant, making styrofoam trays. That's the job I had for years before moving to Utah. And there was one day when the machine I was working on was out of position. The way it ended up, the timing of production, they had to put this machine sort of in the walkway. And it was really odd, and no one had ever seen that. And everybody walked in and said, "What is that doing there?" You know, it was really odd. And I got assigned to it, and a couple hours into the shift, one of the forklift drivers crashed into it like a foot away from me.
Oh man, that's crazy.
So I was reassigned, and they moved the machine.
I bet.
I was really lucky that people liked me there, because probably a lot of people, they would have said, "Yeah, just suck it up." But nobody wanted to see me get run over. So,
you're such a likable guy.
I guess.
What the? So.
I just broke my brain. Okay.
Yeah, this game does have a tendency to do that.
Yeah.
Especially in first playthrough. I remember the job that I was saying that I loved where I worked outside was I worked on the airport, at the airport for UPS, loading airplanes.
Yeah.
And driving the little tugs around.
I would love that job, I gotta tell you.
That was my favorite job I ever had. And the only reason I quit it was because the job was outsourced to a company that only hired part-time employees. And so I could never make enough money off of just working there.
Yep.
And about 6 months after I quit, they closed that company down, and OSHA or whoever it is came in and said, "Hey, you have to have a certain number of full-time employees working for you," because even their managers were part-time.
Interesting.
And so if I'd stayed for those next 6 months, I might very well still be working at UPS.
Wow.
Because I loved that job.
Yeah, I think that would be great. I don't know how much personal interaction did you have to do. I don't know how to do
there was teamwork, but it didn't necessarily require communication because everybody just got in their position and they knew what they needed to do. Like one person would operate the conveyor belt, one person would be inside the plane stacking the boxes, one person would be outside loading the boxes onto the conveyor belt, et cetera, et cetera. So people just knew what they did. So you talk as much as you want to talk.
I'm making so many stupid mistakes. Yeah, my favorite thing about this factory job, technically a pretty awful job. Lots of people hated that job. But it was loud and everybody had their own isolated work assignment. So conversation took effort. Like you had to go out of your way to talk to somebody. So I didn't really have to talk to anyone. so it was great for me. I just did
So
my
you've
job.
always not liked talking to people?
Oh yeah, I hated it.
I didn't like talking to people just because I didn't want them judging me, I guess. I mean, that's not the way I saw it when I was younger, but that's the way it makes sense to me now looking back on it.
Okay. Oh, I went the wrong way.
I didn't want to come off as stupid or ignorant to someone.
Gotcha.
I guess I wanted to be perfect in everybody's eyes.
Huh.
But I'm not like that now. If you think I'm weird, well, you're weird.
Yeah. So
Because I am weird.
I think the hardest thing I ever did in my life was going to school for the first time. And then the second hardest thing I ever did in my life was going to work for the first time, that job for the first time.
Wow.
But it turned out to be great. And it was so stressful the first day, and I was so lost. And I remember for weeks I would stress about going to work because I didn't know if I could do the job they were going to assign me. That was the problem. And I know they started people off slowly and then gave them harder and harder jobs. But, once I got used to it, I realized I could do the hardest jobs they had.
Oh, wow.
And at a certain point, I started asking for them because I would get bored if I didn't stay busy.
Yeah, I've noticed in a lot of situations that the credentials for a job are much higher than the actual requirements when you get there.
I can't do this part. Darn it.
You might have liked the first job I ever had. It was sweeping tennis courts, soft clay tennis courts. I would just go out in the middle of the night, usually about 10 or 11 o'clock, and I was 17 years old. Just go out there after the last group of people stopped playing tennis, sweep all the courts, keep it aerated so that the ground wouldn't mold, and then run the sprinklers over them so that they would stay hydrated.
Yep.
Because they could get too wet and they could get too dry, so
I wouldn't mind
I had to
that,
regulate all that.
Except my least favorite part of my job was sweeping up at the end.
Well, sweeping a tennis court is much different than sweeping a warehouse floor.
Yeah, I imagine.
It's more about aeration than about tidiness. I mean, you have to sweep the lines off because the lines are actually cloth that's nailed to the ground. It's not sprayed on.
I didn't know that.
It may be sprayed on some soft courts, but it wasn't on the one I was in. And every once in a while, we had to go out there and remove the lines and replace them with new ones. It's kind of like a tarp material. But yeah, it was a really fun job. I'd just go out there and I had my little tape player that had this super advanced technology of being able to play both sides of the tape without having to take the tape out of the tape player.
What?
And when I say tape, I mean cassette tape.
Yep.
This was before CDs. I had a CD player. I remember I copied Prodigy's second album, the music for the Jilted Generation, onto a two-sided cassette because I didn't have a portable CD player that wouldn't skip when you take one step, and the battery was only like 15 minutes long.
Right.
So I played the cassette, and I listened to that album probably more than 100 times in my life because I would go to work and listen to that same album every night and never got tired of it.
Wow.
For about 2 years. It was fun. First job I ever had. 17 years old.
Cool. I guess my first job was... How old was I? Wow.
You're an old man now. You're in your 60s, aren't you?
Yeah, well, I got my factory job in 2006, so... Can't do math and play Super Hexagon, apparently. I cannot get past this part! So what was I, 22?
The spiral where you have to go left, right real fast?
Yeah. It's impossible.
Oh, yeah, that one was the hardest.
I've never once gotten past it.
I've gotten past it 3 or 4 times now.
Okay. It's weird how
I just got killed by it while we were talking about
it. So, yeah, 23? Is that the correct number?
Yes. I have no idea.
It's gotta be. Oh, crap. Darn it. So much pulsing.
I had to work because if I wanted gas in my car, I had to be able to pay for it.
Well, I didn't have a car until after I had a job.
Oh, well, in the South, I guess it's a little more relevant than in the North. Or, I mean, in New York, rather.
Oh.
I've heard a lot of people that I know that are from New York said they'd never had a car.
Oh, well, that's the city.
until they moved to the south. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, I guess you didn't live in the city.
No.
I keep forgetting. Because you would kill somebody if you lived in the city.
Oh, it's easy to be anonymous in a city. It's just
Yeah.
so full. I used to be able to do that part, now I can't either.
I live in one of the biggest cities in the south.
Yep. So,
I'm from the south, can you tell?
so dream job, go.
Oh, wow. Probably writing stories for video games.
Yeah.
Character design, stuff like that. I would love to do that, but I don't know how to get in touch with people that are good at doing the programming side of it. I don't know any programmers that do video games. I know a programmer, but he's not interested in making video games. He makes apps for telephones, smartphones.
Not game apps, just
No, like
Utility.
GPS apps and location finders and stuff like that.
okay. Oh,
Like, this shop is near you, blah, blah, blah.
yeah. Can't do that part.
No, it's hard.
Yep. Oh,
I think that obstacle is harder than any of the obstacles in the harder difficulty level.
so weird.
That is my
There
experience.
must be a trick
anyways.
to it that actually makes it much easier. Think
Yeah,
of
you just have
that.
to move really fast. You have to know it's coming and anticipate it. There it is, right there.
Oh,
See, my problem used to be I wasn't fast enough, and now my problem is I'm too fast.
really? Yeah, I've never gotten there. Too fast, huh?
Yeah, I go too fast for that obstacle now, and I end up getting caught under it rather than too far away.
Interesting.
Yeah, see, I went too fast again.
So my dream job would be to design card games.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
I love getting down to the nitty gritty aspect of game design, like designing individual cards.
Hmm.
It's so much fun.
Oh yeah, I love that kind of stuff. When I was younger, my dream job was to be a beta tester for video games,
Yeah.
but I've never done
I
that.
think if I
I
had
remember I
known,
would always try to find glitches and stuff in the games.
uh-huh.
That's just, I did that for fun.
I think if I had known testing video games was an actual job, that would have been my dream job when I was younger. But
Mhm.
in my adolescence, in my teens, I met a guy who tested video games. He was a
Instead of
professional
hated
beta
it.
tester, and listening to, he loved his job, but listening to him talk about it sounded really boring. It's just
Yeah, it's a
so
lot of
repetitive.
paper pushing.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to play the same parts over and over and over again and make sure everything works. Like bumping up against walls and making sure there's no clipping and all kind of stuff.
Yeah, and
Very
replaying
technical.
the same parts over and over, trying every little thing you can.
Yeah, and not playing the game for fun
Yeah.
by any means. You see, if you work for a magazine, like, or a video game review site,
Mhm.
what you do is you just play through the game a couple of times and then you do a review.
Yep.
Like, I think IGN requires the people doing reviews to, if the game's beatable, to, like an RPG, to play and beat the game all the way through 2 times before you do a review of it.
Wow.
And could you imagine playing something like Star Ocean
Never-
on the PlayStation 2? The game's like 300 hours long or something ridiculous.
Oh,
Playing through that game all the way
I
twice.
imagine the reviewers who do that game like that sort of game. So.
Yeah, they do tend to give the games to those people, like somebody that likes the sports games. They always do the sports game reviews.
Yeah, that's good.
Or
Since the
that likes
people
football.
who are interested in hearing the review are people who are interested, who like that sort of game. So
Right.
it should be written by somebody who likes that sort of game.
Yep.
So my
But
early dream.
I like RPGs, but I'm terrible at sticking with them. So maybe working for a journal would help me complete things more often.
Maybe you'd have more fun.
Maybe.
Crazy thought right there. So
I'm a
my
writer, but
No!
I've only never written about. I've never written video game reviews, or not to display to anybody.
Yeah.
So yeah, your dream job.
my earliest dream job in my youth was astronaut because I loved space and I loved the idea of being weightless.
Yeah, I have a glow in the dark book still from my middle school days of all the planets, and it still works too. You go into the bathroom or some room that doesn't have lights. Doesn't have windows, and then you hold it up to the light and turn it off, and you get to see all the pages, all the planets in fluorescent yellow.
Oh, time's up.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm watching Pico play through Kerbal Space Program right now. It's so fantastic. I want that game so much because it just brings back all of those feelings. I got 31.43.
Wow, I got 39.47.
Well, that was much more competitive than last time.
That's because I'm far less experienced with this one.
That's good.
Yes. The next one is going to be the Nightmare.
Yeah. Outro, go.
Everybody, this has been Birchudor playing Tarquinn. Thanks for watching.
Hooray.